empowers us to do what we do excellently. Next. Okay. This is important. Okay. Planning. Next. I just give you an overview of the kind of planning which happens when you take onions, gasoline, and whatever from Chandigarh to Siachen. Next. This is the route. Starts at Chandigarh, goes right to Siachen. Next. Lovely city. Next. You go hit Rohtang Pass, which is at 13,000 plus, which is, when you go through, you take your vehicles through that 30 foot, 40 foot walls of snow right this side. Next. Then you hit the Baralachala Pass, which has got more snow. Okay? And both these passes are open only 3-4 months in a year. Next. Then you hit Taglangla Pass. The highest motorable, the highest company or the set of people who maintain roads are stationed here. This is the third highest motorable pass in the world. Right? Next. Then you hit the beautiful city of Leh. Okay? Next. Then you hit Karbunga, the mother of all passes. It's the highest motorable pass in the world. It's a matter of pride to me to say that the Indian Army has constructed the highest cafe in the world. And this pass is kept open throughout the year. And then you hit the beautiful Siachen Glacier. This is the Siachen Glacier. From bottom to top, I've given an overview. It is 130 kilometers long. Not a single blade of grass grows there. Right? That gasoline, onion, everything which you can think of, including Cadbury chocolates, Pepsodent toothpaste, everything has to be pumped from Chandigarh and brought here. Next. Next. It first starts its journey with trucks and tankers. Next. Then it goes through army convoys. Just read this. I can't read it from here. Someone could help me out. Right? It's a rough road that reaches the heights of greatness. That's what is written there. Next. Okay, then it's transferred onto choppers or mules. Next. Then there's great birding. People were using last mile connectivity is there on the back or snow scooters. So it's whatever starts in Chandigarh moves right up to the top. Different methods, and it's formed into different districts and it reaches next. Okay, what are the constraints this chain operates, supply chain? I'm putting it in management jargon. These are the constraints. Yeah? That's great. Okay, anything will happen. And these are only some. It just came to my mind. In fact, I operated this chain for over 2 years. Okay. Next. What's on there? You need flexibility. You need foresight. Right? You need contingency planning. You need buffers. Okay? And what are they? I can't stage it. Because every time you cross a particular level, you need to acclimatize. You don't have space to stock out there. What's there on ground today might get washed away in an avalanche tomorrow. Right? Today a chap might want cement to build his little bunker. Tomorrow he needs chocolates to fill his, entertain himself. Third day he wants dal and onion. So the requirements keep changing. Okay, next. What's not on are these? Because the first mile connectivity and the last mile connectivity are as bad. Okay. Now what are you doing on this? Do you think from your head? Yes, you do. But at some point of time, you start thinking from your heart. Like Shah Rukh Khan said in some movie, in Dil Bada Naach, he said, Sochna Padta Hai. Why I am saying this? Because Mr. Kashyap said this in the morning. He said intuition. Thinking from the heart is all about intuition. And intuition comes with experience. And intuition comes with tremendous knowledge. And it comes with study. Which I am very confident in times to come you will have. Because I'm very positive in the way I think about all you guys. Next. Okay. Next. In the army, individualism is out. Right? The trust is on teamwork and trust. Trust is very important because I have not heard this jargon from morning till now called trust. Next. You know, we trust our subordinates, peers, and seniors routinely with our lives. I am very confident that once I told a chaplain to do this, I'll stake my life on it. And if I don't do that, if I have doubts about it, neither will he survive nor will I survive. Remember, I'm giving a different spin to life, the way you think. Unless you generate a circle of trust in the environment which you go, you will not succeed. Take it from me. You might fail, but that environment of trust will convert that failure into success. Because failure, like someone said in the morning, I'll give it a slightly different spin, is the greatest teacher. Right? I had Chappell one day speaking in a commentary when India had failed, we lost the test match. He said, I think India will learn more from this failure than anything else. So don't be afraid of failure. I can personally assure you that I've failed n number of times. But it is only after the 99th failure, like Robert Bruce, should you succeed in the 100th time, you will feel happy about it. Next. Yeah, this is an important thing I want to put across to you. In the army, we don't make managers. We make leaders. I think this is a very central thing which you must think when you go out from here. I'm going to put you at the odds of thinking. Why? You are in the Indian Institute of Management, but we are talking about the leadership summit. You will always have this conflict. Do I manage well? Do I lead well? And I am of the view that you have to lead well. Rest, everything will happen. And leadership is not about counting your another rupees on us pies. It has to go beyond that. Yes, it is there. You have to cost. I agree with you, but you have to do something beyond that. Next. Yeah. In the army, we are conditioned to live our lives constantly combating unforeseen situations. Every moment of our life, we say there's going to be a tsunami around the corner. I don't know what's going to happen. You go into an operation, you plan for an operation, you plan 10 contingency things, but the 11th will definitely happen. If not the 13th or the 14th. Which you can't think. Now how do you cater for that? You cater for that by conditioning. It's an amalgam now of what all I spoke earlier. Leadership, training and contingency planning, simplicity in planning, having flexibility in planning, so that any contingency which happens, you are in a mental position to respond. Leaders have to respond to situations mentally. It is not physically. The moment you can think through a situation under stress, you are a leader. The guy who fails under stress thinking is no more a leader, he is a manager. That's the way I look at it. Next. Right. This is something which is unique to the army. In the army, if the commanding officer desires that the sun shall rise in the west, it shall. And if it doesn't, then east is there after the west. Finished. There are no questions on this. I'll tell you why. Come. Next. The concept of command is unique to the armed forces. I must explain this to you. Right? What is this concept of command? Next. Okay. Command in the army gives us the life of death. In fact, it gives us the power of life and death over the people whom we command. But with that authority comes the responsibility that we have to save. You know, this is what Spider-Man said in Spider-Man 1 or 2. Yeah? With authority comes? Yeah, great responsibilities. This is the great responsibility that I as a commander have to go through. Right? If a single man of mine gets a scratch, it's a failure. Period. That's the way you have to look at it. In your own organizations, as you grow in life, remember, the most valuable assets are not your seniors. Right? Seniors do many things, but it is your juniors you have to look after. Because they are the bricks, they are the bottom of the pyramid. If your base of the pyramid is not strong, it will collapse. You look after your seniors, you're going into inverted pyramid. And you're sure to topple over. Okay, next. Right. At the end of the day, command involves leadership. And leaders lead. Right? And set examples. Examples of honesty, examples of transparency, examples of probity, examples of knowledge, examples of guiding people to their destinations. That's what leadership is all about. I can go on. And I personally would love to see you people as leaders rather than managers in life. Next. In the Indian Army, we feel, and my firm conviction, the most important asset that we have is the man. Someone spoke of it. One of my co-panelists just spoke. You take care of that man, he'll take care of success. At every level you go, look 3 down, 4 down. Correct the problems at the bottom. Success will follow. Think of small things. Bigger things will take care of themselves. Yep. I've said what I had to say. I'm open to discussion at the end of the panel and thereafter. I'm open to discussion even till tomorrow when I leave Udaipur to Bharat or that's my flight. And I've given my email address here. You can contact me anytime for anything. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, President Priya Chandran. You highlighted the importance of training, discipline, planning, and of course what Mr. Mishra was talking about, the importance of teamwork. And after such a charged up presentation, the only lines that come to my mind are Sarfaroshi ki tamanna ab hamare dil mein hai. Dekhna hai zor kitna bazoe qatil mein hai.
Before the lights of Janet Shah, I'd like to share the experience with you, sir. And then I'm sure they can hear me. The army makes it. It's a thought very, very close. It's in 1950s, 51, 52, when the first batch of the National Defense Academy passed out. And the National Defense Academy is one of the best institutions in the armed forces in this nation, in this nation and in the world. But Jawaharlal Nehru came there. He was in the first passing out parade. At the end of the first passing out parade, there was a time capsule which was put under the dais. I was told by my instructors when I was there. It contained the names of all the faculty and staff of those at that time. Maybe in generations to come, that time capsule will come up. And Kadapa will become Mohan Yadav or Karappa. But I suggest to you, you are going to raise an institution. And I hope this institution is one of the best institutions and it is better than India Kadapa because I think that's the best. This is a suggestion, it's not a position. And I recognize the fact others, I request all of students to get up and give him a hand.
Why did you not go and join the army? Thomas, over to you. We can take a deep breath if you insist. Systems or processes, what would you say define execution excellence? Or if there is any third variable that you have in mind?
Thank you very much. It is really difficult to continue from where we left. But I have a solution. Okay, first of all, people said 70 to 80% of the strategies are not implemented. I am a strategy consultant. So I am starting at a very, very difficult position, but I already have a solution now. ADL will do all the strategy and we will bring the army to implement. Because we have not been able to do all of this. So I have been consulting for 15 years and every time I fail, that's it. And now we bring the army and they will do it. That's it. Okay. I will not take much time. I will just, I really don't have anything new to add than all the points that have been made in the various presentations. But I can give you some evidence in the project that I have personally managed, in which where you apply this that it works and where you don't apply it doesn't work. Yeah, just some project experiences, because everything has been very, very well covered in the previous presentations that we have covered. We can again start from this room. I think you people have done an amazing job in arranging this leadership summit. A very good example of execution excellence. Do you know why it happened? I think you saw something very impressive here, and when I tell you that, it sounds very simple, but in normal life we never ever do that. Let me tell you, it is very simple. I learned it the very hard way. Yeah. We should not compare how we handle things in the army and normal life. Let us be clear on that, yeah, because it may not work in both contexts. Yeah. Whenever we get into execution of anything, we tend to give very detailed instructions on how to do, when to do, and if this happens, this is what you should do, and then we keep a very long list of activities to be done. Is that what happened here for you to implement this leadership summit? If that was the case, you would not have done this summit the way you have done it. You have been given just an objective, and you have been given the freedom to do what you want, how you want, when you want, to just achieve the objective. And in normal life, we never ever do that. Even the IIM colleagues, I'm telling you very bluntly, because I have seen a lot of your IIM colleagues, or for example, let us take a case of somebody sweeping the room. What do we tell the person? I have never cleaned the room in my life. But we still tell the person, you have to come at 8 o'clock in the morning, sweep it once. Come at 10 o'clock, clean the board. In the evening, come and wash it with water and clean it with clothes. That is exactly what happens in all the execution projects, and that is why strategy consultants fail completely in getting things done, because they don't have a clue of what has to be done. They have no clue. They act as if they know, and all of you will do that the same. I'm telling you, so I'm warning you not to do that. And we tell the cleaning lady how to clean. She has been cleaning for 25 years. Who knows how to clean? You are the cleaning lady. So I'm giving a very simple example. What you need to do is to tell the cleaning lady that I want this room to be clean. That's it. Whether she cleans in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening, she uses a broom, whether she washes with the cloth or water, she knows 100 times better than you how to do it. The problem is we don't give her, again I will restating things. Yeah, I'm not saying anything new. We don't trust that she knows it. We don't believe in her, and we don't give her the authority. We don't give her the responsibility, and we want the work to be done. It is really, really crazy. Okay. So my only message is this. Yeah. I'm going to be a bit blunt. Yeah. Don't assume that just because we people are at this level and we are from IIM, Udaipur and all of this, we are smart and the people out there are not so smart. It is not true at all. Yeah. We have no clue of anything in life. Trust me. Yeah. We should trust the people, give them the responsibilities, allow them to do the things, and we just tell them what to do. And that is how over the so many years, after so many years of failing in execution, I have started in executing all the strategies I have recommended. And in the last 3 to 4 years, I can tell you it is not 70 to 80% failure, it is 90 to 95% success of all the strategies I have recommended. Then we come up with an implementation plan, a very detailed 100-page implementation plan, and give it to somebody to implement. The first thing that person says is, the strategy is wrong and I cannot implement. 100% of the times this will happen. I have seen it. My 8 years of consulting, I did this and I failed. 80% of the time I failed. Nowadays, when I do any strategy project, in the beginning of the project, it is a mandatory requirement for me to start a strategy project that I need to know who is going to be responsible to implement whatever I recommend. If you don't identify the person, and if you don't give me the person to participate in the strategy project, I will not start the project. A mandatory requirement. And the person who is going to be responsible to implement should have his compensation linked to achieving the strategy. Then what really is very simple concept, but I have not done it for many, many years, and I am doing it now. Yeah, it may sound very simple, but I have seen it working. Then what happens is the person who is responsible to implement will not allow the consultant to bullshit, because the consultant will say something and Thomas will run away, but I have to implement. So you have to get the person who is responsible to implement, tie his remuneration and bonuses to the successful implementation of the strategy, and he should participate in the strategy development, and he should sign off, then only you release the strategy concept. And if you religiously follow this, 100% of the times you will be successful. Yeah. Then the dilemma I had was, why don't the person who is implementing the strategy do the strategy? That is sometimes then we can start giving credit to people sitting in the room. Yeah. You may need a different type of an expertise or a thinking or analytical skills to come up with the strategy, and that is where we start differentiating. But when you're talking about training a room, the person who is going to implement it should develop the strategy of how to train the room. We should not even do that. Let us be very clear. There are instances in which the strategy and the implementation are done by different people, and there are instances in which, again, a very good example is 3 people controlling 4 people. It is crazy. There is no strategy and implementation separate. The team who is responsible for strategy should implement, and hence you should not have 2 leaders or 3 leaders rowing a boat with 7 people. You should just do it together, right? So there are instances in which it is together. There are instances in which it is separate, and when it is separate, the person who is responsible for implementation should participate in the strategy, should be the person approving it, and he should be remunerated based on that. Yeah. I can give maybe 1 or 2 real life examples. In Malaysia Debt Ventures, it's a company who got a 1.3 billion loan from Japanese government to give out to companies in Malaysia to encourage e-commerce and e-business. Arthur Thiel was responsible for managing that fund, and we were appointed to manage that fund, conduct due diligences, and release funds to companies. And there was a company which is called e-Prolan, which is responsible to implement the e-procurement of Malaysia government. So it came for a due diligence, ADL approved a 100 million loan, they gave a 100 million loan to that company, And that company, it's a very simple logic. That company is supposed to automate all the purchasing of Malaysia government, and they get a commission of the percentage of the purchased equipment. We approved the loan, 100 million went to them. Within 6 months, the company went bankrupt. The company literally went bankrupt. 100 million money finished. And then they came back and said, Thomas, did you release the money? You took 2-3 million to even evaluate this and did the strategy, and you took 2 million and you couldn't sort out this problem. And I said, wow, God, what do I do now? They put me as the CEO for that company. I did not like it. Thomas, you won't turn around this company. You are the interim CEO. They started with interim CEO because I did not want legal obligations. Then when they released it, it became CEO. I said, oh my God, now I have legal obligations. I went there. I looked at, I did the strategy. I had no clue how it has to be implemented. I'm telling you very frankly. I wasted 3 months walking around, trying to find out what is happening, why the company is not running around, why it is not implementing. Then I really found out it is very simple. The money comes in when the salesperson goes to a customer and trains him to use the system, and when the transaction happens on the system, the money comes in. It's a very simple process. And the system doesn't work. Just like any IT system, it doesn't work in the beginning. You really need to put an effort to make it work. I started going out to the sales team. I found out that the system is too complicated, it doesn't work, and I don't have time. They're going to fire me, I'm liable. So I went to the management and the board and said, you people don't have a clue of anything. Can we empower all this sales team? Yeah, you trust them. Their salary will be a percentage of the income for the company. Very simple. They had a big issue. It even went up to the minister because it's government procurement, even defense procurement. Look at the risk they are taking. But I said I cannot run around the company. And they finally said, okay. I implemented a system in which now what happens is the salesperson now spends 24 hours a day, sits with the customer, ensures that he is trained. Nobody told him what to do. We did not give him a 100-line implementation plan. We told him, this is the objective, you have the authority, you will get money if it happens. Within 1 month, the company turned around. Within a month, the sales people started getting 3 to 4 times the salary of the CEO. Because they did everything to make it work. They went through the process, they explained the system, it is not working, they will call the IT vendor, blast him, bring the IT person, rectify it, the hardware goes down, he calls the hardware person, the computer is not working, replace the computer, keep the customer, give him some tea, everything. The CEO came and complained, Thomas, what is going on? My sales people are getting 4 times my salary. I said, you stupid CEO, it was a bankrupt company, my friend, what are you talking about? Why are you not happy about it? And that company is the most successful e-procurement company in Southeast Asia. And the simple reason, we trusted the lowest level people, believe that they can do it, give them the authority, responsibility, and the company has turned around, they paid back 100 million loan. Now they are giving loan for other e-business in Malaysia. They have generated so much of cash. Just one more example, much shorter. A shipping company. We were appointed to, this company was making huge losses. I don't want to name the company. They appointed ADM to go and come up with a strategy to turn around the company. We had no clue of it. We looked at the whole thing, we found out that it is making huge losses. They are using the wrong ships in the wrong routes. A ship with 10,000 TEU is running on a route which needs only 3,000 container movements. Wherever there is 3,000 container, 10,000 container movements required, they put a ship with 3,000 container movement capacity. The whole thing is not working. We wasted 3 months trying to find out why I am doing all of this. This is ridiculous. Then we found out how is the performance management system happening. They gave something very clearly said performance management. Have the right performance manager. You have to train them and get them the knowledge how to run their activity. Then we looked at the performance management system, and the performance management system calculates the profit on the variable cost. So you move a container, they look at all the cost for the container movement, what is the revenue, and you look at the profit of that, and that is how the profit is calculated. In shipping, the biggest cost is the capex. The depreciation component was not in the performance management system. I'm so stupid. It took 3 months for me to find out what is driving. I was new. Like our consultant, we analyzed, we found out what is going, what drives the shipping industry. And then we found out, we just in one day, we went to the board and said, guys, there's a group of routing people sitting there. They are deciding which vessel goes on which route. Can we just empower them to reallocate vessels they want, the way they want, and also calculate their bonus based on the performance of the route, and in the performance management system, the capex of the vessel has to be allocated. That's all I need. We took 1 month to get that approval, because it was not easy. 1 month of approval process to the board, went up to the minister of the country, because they are allocating vessels between multiple countries. It went to the minister. We implemented that system in which the calculation is now allocating the cost of the depreciation component of the vessel onto the profitability of the route. Within 1 week, 36 vessels got rerouted automatically at the working level of the company. And we are talking of vessels which are costing $10 million, $50 million, $20 million of vessels got rerouted overnight. And the company turned around, and it is still one of the most profitable shipping companies in the world, Malaysia Shipping Company. Just a very simple performance management system, trusting the people that they know what to do, allow them to do whatever they want, measure it rightly, and give them the freedom. Execution will work. Let us see whether they have. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing something thorough of your strategic and organizational practice experience. Deepakji, I'd like to hear from you, based on 3 decades of your experience in big companies like Tata, Mahindra & Mahindra, Ranbaxy, Times of India, what would be your pecking order? Excellence in people, excellence in strategy, excellence in structure, or excellence in processes?
Yeah? It's a very difficult question, because I don't believe in this pecking order. Because I thought in most of the companies I work, especially for example Ranbaxy, when they had to take the decision to enter US, it was a very, very difficult decision. Because the branded generic, the drugs which they were in business in, they were not off patents for most of the drugs they were in. But this was a vision of the owner and the managing director, Dr. Parvinder Singh, that is a place where 10 years from now, 15 years from now, the medicines, big molecule will come off the patent. We have to prepare the ground, and they made an acquisition there. So that was, in that situation, was the first pecking order for them to take the right strategic decision about the market. Then it came to the market strategy as to which should be the first few molecules which should be brought in. Then for America, I became the next pecking order that I should be aiming for these molecules. And at that point of time, people were not in the picture because they had the bandwidth to support this function, to support this operation in America. But by and large, if you don't take, for example, some of the specific examples, my first pecking order would be the people. Today, as a CEO, more than 40% of your time is ideally spent on talent management. Because that is where, and that is the only variables where you can have some control over, because the other variables in the market is not controllable, they are very volatile. So people would be my first pecking order. And therefore after, I would probably go for structure, but I will not limit myself to these 2 bases. I'll rather go for the culture which is actually defined in search of excellence as shared values. In this order, I would be going in. Have I answered your question?
Answer that in terms of importance, which one would you rate as most important and which one would you rate as least important?
Yeah, I think my answer is known to everyone. It is people, people, and people.
Should have guessed it.
Because you can buy everything, you can give money, but you cannot make it happen by giving money. You should have the right people at right place, then only it can happen.
It's the same question. I can see. Again, I learned it the very painful way. When I started consulting, I thought it is always good to start from system and process. And later on, I started thinking it is best to do it by people, and I was giving examples that is related to people. But now I will give you something which is mixed, again based on the projects we have done. When we are talking about something which involves a lot of thinking, strategic thinking, innovation, and all of that, you have to always prioritize from people and culture. But it is not always right. Whenever you have something which is very much process oriented, if you start with people, it's a complete mess. I have seen that again myself. Yeah. Because in many consulting assignments, what I have done is, when we go to a company, we try to implement something and we try to improve something, the people have been following a wrong process, let us say for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And when we try to implement a system, they try to adapt the system to the bad process they are following. So these days, what I do is, when I look at what needs to be corrected, I look at, are they following the best practice in my mind? I check with the people, I run through the process, or then I find out whether there are some other best practice for the same process. And if I'm really convinced, I take some of the people who are asking me to correct the system, I take them to another place, find out that the other system is good, I just bring in the system and dump it on them, straight away. And I completely turn around the company system driven. I know, I think you may not agree with it, but this is my very firm belief after I have made a lot of turnarounds on process-oriented implementation execution. So if you can find out that there is an amazing system sitting out there which has the best practice process, you just put it on the people and don't give them an option to do anything other than that. And I even learned it because I worked a lot in Singapore. In Singapore, that is why the Singapore country is being run efficiently. The moment you violate a taxi, there's no question asked. The process is, your bank account is debited within milliseconds. That's it. It's a process implemented in downtown. If you do something, you're put in jail for 5 days. That's it. If you eat chewing gum, you're in jail for 3 days. That's it. You just dump the process on the people. Yeah. So I'm sorry to put it this way. It is again very situational. If it is thinking related, you coming from the people and cultural perspective. If it is process perspective, you don't talk to the people, just ignore them completely. Take the best process and system, dump it on them, and it will turn around.
I know HR may not like it. I wanted to say something on this. Yeah, I do agree when talked about the process. I have one question in my mind, and that question I'll ask all of you is, who makes the process? And let me tell you, if you have the right people in your organization, the same person will innovate, the same person will put the process, and that same person will make changes. But you need to have a right person. If you find your organization doesn't have the right person, get the right person. They will do it. But you need to have the right person. Having process with the wrong person will never work. So you need to have a right person who can do it. I'll give you a best example, which is a very highly process-driven industry, and which I have worked, I have experienced, that is Reliance. I think my friend will definitely agree with me. Reliance is a company which is really highly process-driven. And this is again a company, I will tell you, which is a best example of execution. I think there is no second company you will find who will have the executions. They are project-driven. Everything is driven by project. And you tell them within 5 days they can make a building, a tower stand up. The project team is so strong, so dedicated. They know what to do and how to do it. If you remember when there was a tsunami, the whole plant was disaster. And can you believe, within few days they make it stand. Everything was flown. No consultants used. Same people. They've flown everything by flight, by everything. Cost is not a matter. What is matter is timely execution. Everything was done in time. Even when it was required for setting up the telecom business, they've flown a total plant from China. They airlifted the plant from China. They knows what it means when it comes to execution. And the people have done. Same people who are there in the land. All due respect to
contrary views, of course. I think we are on the panel, we respect each other's views as much as we respect ours. Now, I have a question for you. While you were presenting, you alluded to measurement of efficiency, measurement of execution efficiency and excellence. Can we come with a matrix? Can we come up with some parameters as to how one goes about measuring excellence in execution?
Yeah, so predominantly I spend most of my time in sales, so it will be hugely influenced by the seller mindset. Okay? So I've never been a consultant like Kurila, never been a turnaround specialist, so probably it will be hugely influenced by a salesman's mindset. It's pretty straightforward, when you have the milestones to take. What matters is eventually the results. So the results are, there's no black and white on that, especially in the area that I would spend most of the time. So the results are, there's no shades of gray in that. So that eventually will be the if there is a lack of clarity between whether someone is really achieving it or the method they follow. I mean, it's the process they follow, the method is it's important, no doubt at all. No, I don't say that like Shankar mentioned about victory at any cost. That business, it doesn't happen that way. It doesn't.
I'm sure Shankar's going to have a lot of questions on
Yeah.
So
in business, it's not business at any cost. In IIMU, we say that the business is IIMU. So we, my sense is that with all those boundaries, which were really made IIMU as a sensible company, what it is. So with all those applied, my view is that the results really will be the
talking about challenges that we face.
Right.
Yes, please. Measurement of excellence.
I believe there is no measurement of excellence. It's a continuous program. If you reach a particular stage, your things start excellent. And that's why Peter talked about superordinate code. It's like when you talk in Indian mythology, what is God, you can feel it, describe it. So excellence remains in the same area, and that is why it is called excellence. And you cannot compare two companies that have benchmarks. So benchmarks will change. The 10 companies which in search of excellence, I don't know how many, more than 10 companies, so they did research. After 5 or 10 years, the same gentlemen went there, they were no longer excellent companies, but their own argument. So this is a continuous process. I would not even venture to measure.
So then the panel is concluding that excellence is difficult to measure. Of course, we know what the parameters are, but it is a dynamic process. It is an evolutionary process. So we may not have any quantifiable measures as such. Of course, Damodaran gave us some which are specific to certain areas, but on the whole, we may sometimes find excellence difficult to measure. Are we?
Yeah, the only thing I can say, when you are reaching this sort of a passion, your adrenaline starts flowing a little more. So the person will feel that, look, I want a job which seems to be an excellent.
I'm tempted to go back to what Mr. Pradeep Kashyap had said. He said that it's about awareness. It's about the heart. So is excellence about the heart or is it about the mind? What do we feel? Is it about the heart or is it about the mind? Because that Mr. Kashyap's statement stayed with me and I was wondering, what is it all about? Is it a skill? Is it an attitude? Is it an undefinable construct, or should we just not bother about defining it?
I have a take on this. I think in life, one has to find balance. You can't veer towards the mind, you can't veer towards the heart. It's all about balance. In any situation you get into, whether it's business or whatever, you find things imbalanced. The leader goes there, situationally, he corrects this imbalance. Right? Whether he applies his mind or his matter or his heart, he changes this balance. Right? Now once he disturbs this balance, he reaches a certain outcome. And this outcome reaches yet another system of imbalance. That's what Mr. Deer was talking about. It's that process of evolving goals, reaching higher or morphing to something else. So there is no formula which you can say, look, this is, you apply the mind, you will win, apply the heart, you will lose, or vice versa. I think it's a matter of balance. If you go with the concept of balance in life, you will achieve a hell of a lot more.
Let me just
what I was saying was what I said in the morning, that what you need to bring is a business mind, because you have to bring in the best strategy. There is no doubt that's the way to get through. But it has to be with a heart. If I don't empathize with my customer, if I don't engage with my customer, if I don't relate to them, and if I develop strategy and isolation without fool my customer, then it will not be the best. And that's been my experience for the 40 years, that this balance of mind and heart is critical, because what we saw as the global economic meltdown in 2008 was all mind, mind, mind. And what we see in NGOs is all heart, heart, heart. Because of which they are not able to then scale up their efforts. So it has to be a combination. Thank you.
This is more for the students, I think, with all due respect to the panel. I'm a little tempted to intervene because we are making very strong statements. I want to go with Pradeep's observation. I think after Insert of Excellence, Passion for Excellence, I think if you don't know Jim Collins, I'd like to remind you that in IIMU, please don't tell you don't know Jim Collins. His first great book was Built to Last. 10 years of work at Stanford. Great Professor Martin Hansen assisted him. That was the best book, I think, on vision, all that you are saying. First thing I'll request is read that book. If you listen to all the thought leaders go there. After a lot of time, he worked, then he realized Built to Last is not enough. He said good to great. I think level 5 leadership came up, humility and focus. I think all my district panel members have brought that. Again, time passed. I just want to, I think 2010, 2011, again Jim Collins, Martin Hansen used to be Stanford PhD student with Jim Collins. His book, phenomenal book called Collaboration. So Martin Hansen and Jim Collins have written a book called Great by Choice. I think all the panel members are saying it is not head or heart, it is heart will head. And there is a concept called 10x change. 10x change with discipline, with heart, with intuition. I think the word intuition, Pradeep kept talking, so my request is please do not take each of the words by the panel serious, just like life. Each word builds up and it is great by choice. And great by choice, Jim, there are, I think Professor Janath symbolizes research. That is the best research on success globally for the last 10 years by nobody less than Jim Collins and Martin Hansen, for the thought leaders of this century. I just wanted to mention that. So all the panel members in their own way, they are saying each word get integrated, great by choice. I just wanted to acknowledge and link it up. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to continue on the debate that we had on people versus process. I started with giving importance to people, then said there are instances in which process can be guiding principle, and I used the example of Singapore. But let me give you another example of Singapore. When Singapore, and that now it is justifying the people angle of implementation execution, excellent execution, yeah. And it also ties into the innovation topic that we had in the morning. Singapore as a country pushed process-driven transformation in the country, and they have the best process, and if you measure it, the outcome is the best. But on an innovation survey, Singapore scored the last in the world. And one of the questions in that questionnaire was, they brought in some young kids from the school in an exam, and they said, can you draw a chicken? You know what they drew? A fried chicken. That's what they drew on a piece of paper. Okay? So again, there are right places for innovation, thinking, there are right places for process. If you push one of them more than what is required, you will always have a consequence, so always have it balanced and use it appropriately. And Singapore is a very good example. Something they pushed, they achieved it. Look at what they compromised. And they're spending so much of money now to get innovative thinking in their population. Thank you.
Thank you. I think I would hate to stop at this point in time. It's getting so exciting, but I think it's time to take questions. Can I request the student please help me with taking the questions? Somebody from backstage. Let us know who your question is addressed to in case you want.
It's not a question. I just want to share this debate on mind and heart. I had the privilege of starting my work life with G.D. Birla. I was deputed to look after his needs because he was asked to maintain an average of 22 degrees. Somebody asked him this question about, do you govern by your heart or mind? उन्होंने एक शेर पढ़ा था जो कि आपने बोला, लाजिम है दिल के पास रहे पासबान अक्ल, लाजिम है दिल के पास रहे पासबान अक्ल. That means normally your heart should be governed by your mind. लाजिम है दिल के पास रहे पासबान अक्ल, लेकिन कभी कभी इसे तन्हा भी छोड़ दे, which is the intuition problem.
My question is addressed to Mr. Damodar. The story that he shared about how the whole of USA shared J.F. Kennedy's passion for putting a man on the moon. Who do you think in India has such a lofty vision? The government, the corporate sector, or an individual?
First of all, I mentioned that in the US, NASA carried the vision of JFK because it was directly on them. Okay, that's fine. I mean, this is okay. In India, as I mentioned, see, as a group like this, in an event like this, I don't think the bureaucrats are waiting there for us to give them suggestion and they're not going to go out and implement. So my view is that, as I mentioned in the beginning, our sphere of influence, where we can start this. I mean, it's great to have a leader like that to share the vision, which is what really, the whole nation is going to rally behind it. It's a nice, it's a context that happened. And today, I mean, it's your guesses, as well as my guess, who's the leader. But the point is, I'm not even going that far. I'm saying that you can bring that change. See, end of the day, to make India as an innovation hub, as I mentioned, it is going to be happening at I'm talking to the bottom of approach. Once you lead a team of people, and if you're going to really inculcate the culture of execution excellence, then you can, the same thing can be extended to the department level and a corporate level. So in my mind, if we can achieve that, like what Infosys has done in this country, or what several other great leaders in this country has achieved, we have seen a lot of examples. Even that itself, according to me, is something comparable to what the US has done with the JFK tree. Okay, so the context is different, so probably I'm not able to really suggest any leader which is beyond our sphere of influence.
I'll just put this thing in perspective historically. Just take your mind back to Mrs. Indira Gandhi. You know, she was a leader of vision. If she had not done what she had done, you know, Pakistan would have been on both sides of India. The policy statement. She was the one who said, we will break Pakistan at any cost. And at least cost she did it. And everyone followed in her footsteps, whether it's the army, the bureaucrats, the business, and everything. We had the second leader, Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, backed by Manmohan Singh. Those of you, I'm sure, the front row will agree with me. Around the 90s, when our gold went to England, as an Indian, I felt ashamed. I felt really ashamed. Because then this combination came about and freed our economy with a vision and a political statement. The other issues I will not discuss and debate. But ultimately, you need a leader. That's what the summit is all about, leadership. To rise above the situation, to get the bull by its horns, and fight adversity and turn it into success. Thank you.
My question is to Major General Shankar. What do you think India should do to avoid delaying process execution till the 11th hour, like in the case of the Commonwealth Games?
Well, we just have to look into our own models. Okay. I was involved with the 1982 Asiad. 1982 Asiad, some of you might have been born, not born. Most of the students I'm sure would have been born. 1982 Asiad was a fantastic example of execution of excellence. Right? Now, 20 years later, 30 years later, you go through a Commonwealth and you've forgotten your own history. No one needs to teach us. It is there with us. Right? So, it is recovering your own self and recovering your own processes which exist will take you where you are. I hope I have answered your question.
Major General. Can we actually mirror the same level of excellence that the Army has achieved to other government organizations? And if so, how can it be done? Is it all about authority or is there something more?
I think you can. Right? If you take the principles. Well, definitely what I've said, victory at all costs is great in my uniform. But it is not so great when in your business. I said victory at least cost, so success at least cost. Just transform the principles, apply the principles. I said discipline. Discipline in the army is iron-handed discipline. You go walk into death, it doesn't matter. Okay, someone has to achieve what he has to do. But you need a different kind of discipline here. It is that kind of discipline which says you will achieve what you have to do once you set your target on it. And you set discipline into the process. We all today said we think great, we innovate great, but when it comes to execution, we fail. So you take the principle, I think you do great. And I already see a lot of people in the civil walk of life have adopted this technique. I'll put it to you in a different perspective. Say about 10, 12 years back, when an army officer exited, shed his uniform, they were not take us because he had no formal education as it is, he didn't have a PhD, he did nothing. And people didn't recognize his skills. Today, this skill set is getting into the civil environment and being utilized and being sought. The army man is not being sought for what he is, but for the skill set he produces. And that imbibing the skill set and learning from it, I'm sure will take you a long way. I hope I've answered this question. Anything more you want me to add? Thank you.
Vision 2020. So my question is, why would the successive governments and all not work with the same intensity with the same vision?
I'll take this one because I worked with Dr. Abdul Kalam. It was in 1988. I was in the integrated missile development plan. I was a project member of Project Prithvi. I was a young major. I worked with him. I've had the privilege of over 2 years. I was with him during Agni 1 and Prithvi 1 series of 5. You know why? We have not had, because there were no other Abdul Kalam. They put it very simple. The man was so simple, but he was a great motivator. He had this 80% knowledge of everything, who could integrate different walks of life and make them 180%. Right? All of us are not experts in what we do, in everything. You are an expert in what you are, but there are other people around you who are expert in their fields. This man had the capability, and I've seen it close, to get this 100% from everyone, packet it together and make it 1000%. And that's why where we are as a nation, we're able to show eyes to China and US. You need Abdul Kalam to come up to do this. Unfortunately, we don't have